For Rock on Request, I'm Des Delgadillo. We're looking at the debut self-titled album from Dreaming Bull today. If you're not familiar with Dreaming Bull's sound, but you are familiar with the USA show Suits, then you heard their song at the end of Season 3, at the Season 3 finale. It was called No Use, and that was the premiere track on the album here that we took a look at. The album really had everything, but let's do a little bit of backstory first. Dreaming Bull, the collaboration between Gabe Roland and Nick Capel. Capel, of course, from the indie outfit called Capel. So there you go. The band itself was all about blues, all about jazz, but there's so much more to it than that. It's honestly something that I wouldn't actively seek out. You'd be hard pressed to find it at the top of my Spotify queue, and you probably wouldn't hear too much of their stuff on the radio. This is more of stuff that you would hear on the jukebox at your local bar, and that's not a bad thing. This is the kind of music that you're really going to want to groove to and really going to want to listen to with friends and rock out to. I'll joke that it's what rock and roll sounded like before punk rock came along. This is very much a blues project, very much a jazz project, and blues and jazz is what eventually evolved into rock and roll. So the album itself, it has so much on it, man. So much, so many different elements. It has that garage rock element that we all know. It's called, what's it called? What am I thinking here? Well, it's an element of garage rock. It also has the jazz, the blues, so many cool synth work in here too that you wouldn't find on a traditional jazz album. There's a lot of stuff on here that you would probably hear on like a new electro or EDM record that you wouldn't hear on a traditional rock and roll album. They do such a good job of layering it in together that it sounds masterful. It sounds really good. And you have, again, Nick Capel, whose vocals are just so raw and so good. It's like you took every blues legend and you put all of their voices together into one raw, edgy voice. And that's Nick Capel's voice. It's so good. And he's the guy who's adding the overtones to that awesome music that they're putting out in this album. And the album itself, I always give this critique to albums because they always have one uniform sound. And that's not an artist's fault. You know, an artist has a sound and they want to put it in the album and give it that one sound. These guys do a great job of making their album sound different from start to finish. It isn't one uniform sound like you would hear with most rock and roll albums. They start off with a very dancey track. They have something that sounds like Georgia the Jungle. They have stuff that sounds like it's straight off a Bee Gees album with a song called Boogaloo. And so many other bluesy songs. It just sounds so different. It's so differentiated, and it's such a fun listen. Again, there's so much cool stuff on this album. If you're a fan of great vocal work, then I suggest you check this out just to listen to Nick Capel. If you're a fan of great production and great mixing, then I suggest you check this out just to see how they layer these great guitar riffs and synths together. And if you're a fan of great rock and roll, where you strip all the screaming away and all the crazy riffing away, and you just have good old-fashioned rock and roll from way before I was born, from way before back then, just good old rock and roll, then I suggest you pick this record up. It's the self-titled debut album from Dreaming Bull. It should be available soon, so check it out. For On Request, Rock on Request, I'm Des Delgadillo. We'll have more reviews for you very soon.